Okay, so the next is demand function. Now, what is demand function? In the last part, we have understood the determinants of demand. And all these determinants of demand is a part of your demand function. And if you know all the determinants of demand, you can easily write what is the demand function. Just now you understand it. So demand for a commodity depends upon variety of factors. Just now we have seen that demand for a particular commodity is dependent on all the 10 factors which we have seen here just now. So this can be expressed. So all the determinants of demand can be expressed in a mathematical form, and that is called demand function. So demand function states the relationship. So what is demand function? It states, demand function is a function that states the relationship between the demand for a product, and its various determinants. It is so easy. What is demand function? A demand function, it is a function that explains the relationship or states the relationship between what? Between demand for a product. You should not write here demand. If you don't write the word product, then it makes no sense and your definition will be wrong. So you have to write that there are two things. It explains the relationship between demand for a product. Product means goods and services both. Demand for a product and various determinants. It's like two sides of a balance or two sides of a coin. Demand for a product and its various determinants. It gives a functional relationship, cause and effect. Just now we have studied all the cause and effect. Because of price, what is happening on the demand? Okay, price is the cause and the change in the demand is the effect. Okay, so all the 10 determinants we saw. Income is the cause of change and demand of the commodity is the effect. So it's a functional relationship. Functional relationship. What is functional relationship? Functional relationship means that there is a cause and effect. Then only it is called functional relationship between the demand for the commodity and the various factors affecting demand. The algebraic equation, like I told you, demand function is a mathematical expression. So the algebraic expression of the demand function is given in the form of following equation. What is the following equation? Demand for n. So D is here, demand, D and denotes the demand for a particular commodity N or X. Instead of D N, you can write it as DX also, which means it denotes the demand for a particular commodity N. F here means functional relationship, cause and effect relationship between demand. So this I told you that we have two parts, demand of a commodity or demand for a product and its determinants. So this Dn is the demand, one side demand for a product and the other side of the equation. LHS is your demand for a product and your RHS, right hand side, is the determinants of demand. Pn, then you have Pn is the price of the commodity. Pn minus 1 indicates the price of all other commodities. What is price of all other commodities? Price of all other commodities are your fourth point. Price of related goods, this one. This one, fourth point. This is Pn, this is Pn minus 1, price of related goods. Okay. Then Y is the income. T stands for tastes and preferences. E stands for expectations of a consumer's future expectations. H stands for size of population. Y stands, it's not Y, it's bar Y. So you can see we call it as bar Y. You would have done in statistics, no? Bar Y. It's called bar Y. Bar Y stands for distribution of income. So we have two things. Now we had income. We had two income. We had in second point as income of consumer and the ninth point as distribution of income. G stands for government policy. Climatic factor does not come in. So if you see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Climatic factors and consumers credit does not come in your demand function. So this equation is called demand function. another way it is a short form of saying that the quantity demanded, this quantity demanded dn, this is called the quantity demanded, this dn, this quantity demanded, this quantity demanded depends upon the various determinants. How many determinants? 8 determinants according to the equation. Price of the commodity, PN, income of the consumer, is Y, consumer taste and preferences, T, E for expectation, H for size of population, bar Y is the distribution of income, and G is the government policy. One more thing does not come. Demonstration effect also does not come. So demonstration effect, this demonstration effect, climatic factors, does not come, and consumers credit facility. So this does not form a part of your demand function. So DN is treated as dependent variable. What is dependent variable? What is DN? Demand for a product. So demand for a product is always dependent. It keeps on changing. Why? Everything what we have done up here, all the 11 points, all your determinants, climatic factors, government policy, price of the consumer, these all the determinants, you can write down somewhere and keep, all the determinants are independent variable. Determinants keeps changing. And because determinants keep increasing or decreasing, there is an effect on demand. That is why demand is a demand for a product is dependent variable. So your LHS side is your dependent variable, and this side, the function here is the independent variable, and this is called indeterminants of demand. And all the factors on the right hand side is treated as independent variables. Okay. Then the next part is law of demand. What is law of demand? In microeconomics of price theory, we are actually interested in developing a theory of determination of price and commodities. So this determination of price and developing theory is done on the basis of relation between the demand and price. And based on the relationship between demand and price, there is law of demand. And law of demand is one of the most important laws of economic theory. So where are you doing this demand chapter? You are doing it as a part of microeconomic theory. And there are lots of law. There is law of demand, there's law of supply, there's a law of diminishing marginal utility, there's a law of returns to scale, there's law of returns to factor, lots of laws. The law of demand is your first law under your microeconomic theory. Okay. So now what does the law state? The law of demand states that other things remaining equal. What are the other things? The other things here are the determinants of demand. That keeping all the determinants of demand equal or constant, the quantity demanded of a commodity increases when its price falls, and the quantity demanded decreases when the price rises. Okay, so you can see here the law of demand states that all the factors from 2 to 11, law of demand only takes price of the commodity into consideration. The law of demand says that 2 to 11, from second point to 11th point doesn't matter for me. In other words, I'm just explaining in a very easy way that law of demand says that 2 to 11th point does not matter to me. Only price of commodity matters to me. So law of demand takes only price of the commodity in consideration. Okay, it does not take the other factors. Other factors are the points 2 to 11. The law of demand states that other things remaining equal, quantity demanded of a commodity increases when its price falls and decreases when its price rises. Thus, the law of demand indicates an inverse relationship. So this is one of the key word here you have to write. It is an inverse relationship between the price and the quantity demanded of a commodity. Other things remaining equal. What are the other things? Points 2 to 11. Other things remaining equal. That is, with a rise in the price of a commodity, when there is a rise in the price of a commodity, the quantity demanded of a commodity will fall, and with the fall in the price of the commodity, the quantity demanded will rise. Then next is, I'll come to the doubts towards the end. Okay, I'll not start with the demand schedule. I'll just talk with the law of demand. And the next is assumption. Every law will have assumptions. Every law is based with physics, chemistry, or anything, sciences also. All the laws and theories are based on certain assumptions. So now let's see what are the assumptions of law of demand. Even law of demand also assumes certain things. You know what will be the assumption? We just now said that all the points 2 to 11 are constant. The law of demand is going to assume that this is constant, this is constant, this is constant, this is constant. So that is the assumption. So just let's read it. The law of demand assumes that other things remain the same. What does this mean? Remains the same means constant. Assumption of ceteris paribus order. So this is an important word which you have to mention. What is ceteris paribus? Ceteris paribus is a 1-mark question which you can do. So ceteris paribus is ceteris paribus is an assumption of law of demand which states that other things remains the same apart from price. Which is ceteris paribus. And in law of demand, when you write assumption, you have to write this word ceteris paribus. You will get 1 mark based on the ceteris paribus. What is law of demand? It is the assumption of ceteris paribus. The law of demand means other things remains the same. Other thing remaining the same is ceteris paribus order. As stated above, demand for a commodity depends not only on its price, but also on many other factors like consumers' income, price of related goods, consumer tastes and preferences, etc. Etc. means 2 to 11. Points number 2 to 11. These factors influencing the demand are assumed to be constant or unchanged. All the points from 2 to 11 does not change. This is ceteris paribus. This is ceteris paribus. It does not change. Only the price changes. Okay. And these factors influence the demand are assumed to be constant or unchanged. The law of demand holds good when other things, that is factors other than the own price. So if you see the first one is a factor which is the own price of the commodity. So this does not come under law of demand because this changes, price changes. And because of the price change, we are studying the law of demand. So price of the commodity here is the independent variable. Okay. So when the other things, that is factors other than its own price of the commodities remain the same, thus the law of demand is based on the following main assumptions. Just now I said all the points from 2 to 11. You will write it is constant, it is constant. So there should be no change in the income of the consumer, income point. There should be no change in the tastes and preferences of the consumers. Prices of related commodities should not change. So you can write cannot change or unchanged, it's one and the same. The commodity should be a normal commodity, which means that it should not be inferior goods or inexpensive necessities. It should be only normal goods because for inferior goods and inexpensive necessities, they do not follow the law of demand. Size of population and age of composition does not change. Distribution of income should not change. There is no changes of prices in future. So all these things, there are no changes. So it's so easy to remember law of demand. If you know the determinants of demand well, and if you understand what is law of demand, you can easily write your answer. When you are being asked what is law of demand, you have to write the statement of law and assumptions also when it is a 6 marks question. When it is only a 1 mark question, then you will only define and leave what is law of demand. Okay, and not only law of demand, you have to use the word. You have to make this you have to write statement of law for a 1 mark or 2 mark. But when it is 6 marks, you will write the assumptions also, and all the 6 points you will write it. Thus, the law of demand can be illustrated numerically through a demand schedule and graphically through a demand curve. So now to explain this law of demand, we have to draw and explain. We have to put it in a, we have to explain it through an example. Okay, we have to explain it through a numerical example. What is law of demand? So the law of demand can be explained through demand schedule. Now, what is demand schedule? What is demand schedule? A demand schedule is one way of showing the relationship between the price of commodity and the quantity demanded. So from where are these two coming? Because we are explaining law of demand. So law of demand can be explained with the help of example. And that example is elaborated by demand schedule and demand curve. So demand schedule is one of the way of expressing the relationship between the price of commodity and quantity demanded. So what is price of commodity and quantity demanded? When we express the relationship, it is basically the law of demand. So what is demand schedule? The demand schedule is a tabular statement. It is a tabular statement because we'll be making table. So table, from the word table, it comes tabular. Tabular statement that shows different quantities of a commodity that would be demanded at different price during a given period of time. I remember first definition of demand what we have learned. The main difference between want and demand is that demand is always expressed with the respect of time and with respect of price, P and T. So once again, the demand schedule is a tabular statement. So here we are not talking about demand, we are talking about demand schedule. So because it's demand schedule, it's tabular form. So demand schedule is a tabular statement that shows different commodities of a commodity that would be demanded at different prices, price and time, at different prices during a given period of time. Time word is not there, but it is understood that it talks about time. Period means time. So demand schedule is again, demand schedule is of two types, individual demand schedule and market demand schedule. So the first one, what is individual demand schedule? Individual demand schedule. As I told you that there are two things. If I talk about my demand, if I talk about your demand, it is individual demand schedule. But if I talk about a class for standard 11th demand, what is the demand for standard class 11? So the combined demand of standard 11 will be called as market demand. What is the combined demand? How many economics books the standard 11 wants? Then it is market demand. Understood? So individual demand schedule is the table. Again, because the word schedule is there, there is a table. Okay, so individual demand schedule is a table which shows various quantities of a commodity that would be purchased at different prices by an individual household or a consumer during a given period of time. For example, look at this. 1 kg, 2 kg, 4 kg, 6 kg. Different quantities of commodities, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. You can see here quantity demanded, kgs per week. Different quantities of commodity demanded at different price. And this is a tabular statement because it is a table. Okay, it's a table. Demand schedule for apples we are studying. So at 100 rupees per kg, 1 kg of apple is being demanded. If the price drops from 100 to 90, an individual is ready to buy 2 kgs of apple. If the price of the apple falls to 80 rupees per kg, then the individual consumer is willing to buy 4 kgs of apple. And if the demand further falls to 70 rupees per kg, then he would maybe want to make apple jelly and he has purchased 6 kgs of apple. So you can see here we have quantity demanded and then we have price. Price is independent variable and quantity demanded is dependent variable. Clear? Once again, we will read the definition. Individual demand schedule is a table which shows various quantities of a commodity demanded, quantities of a commodity demanded at which would be purchased at different prices, by a household or an individual. And just when we replace the word with market, the whole individual demand schedule will turn to market demand schedule. And instead of writing individual household, we will write total household or total individual. We will use the word total. So you can just look at this market demand schedule. What is market demand schedule? Market demand schedule is a table which shows various quantities of commodity that all the buyers, here it's not individual buyers, here all the buyers or consumers are willing to purchase at different prices during given period of time. And it shows the aggregate demand. What is aggregate demand? Aggregate demand means total demand. Aggregate demand of all the consumers at different prices of particular commodity at given period of time. It is composed of demand schedules of all individuals purchasing. So if we combine the, like for example, individual A, individual B, individual C, if we make all the tables differently, it's demand schedule of for A, B, C, that's individual demand. If I have to make market demand schedule, then I will combine all the quantities of A, B, and C in one table. Price will be same, but the quantity demanded of A, B, and C I will combine in one table, total up and aggregate all the demand and write in one table, then it becomes market demand. Okay, so it's not composed word, the book is wrong. It's not composed, it's a combined demand. The word here is combined. Please cut it and make it correct. It's the combined demand of demand schedules of all individuals purchasing that commodity. It can be obtained by adding up the quantities purchased at different prices by all the households in the market. Okay, now just give you an example here. Same thing. In the first example, we had only 1246 of person A. 1246. Let's assume that it is demanded by person A. Now in market demand, we have quantity demanded by A. If I just talk only about A, then it is individual demand. If I talk only about B, then it is individual demand. But when I talk about total market demand or aggregate market demand or market demand, then it is A plus B. So at 100 rupees per 100 per kg, A and B in total, they are ready to buy. A is ready to buy 1 kg and B is ready to buy 2 kg. So in total, the market is demanding 3 kg. At 90 rupees, A is individually demanding 2 kg and B is individually demanding 3 kgs. So the total market demand is 2 plus 3, 5 kg. So 5 is the answer. 3 is the answer here. Okay. If at 80 rupees per kg, A demands 4 and B demands 5. So 9 is the market demand. 9 kg is the market demand. At 70 rupees, A demands 6 kg and B demands 7 kg. So the market demand is 13 kg per week. Is that clear? And it is not per day, it is per week. So this week here represents period of time. So are they buying 3 kgs in a day? 5 kgs in a day? No, they are demanding in a week. So demand is always expressed in price. So there will be price and there will be time. So here week is the time. Week is the time. Okay, so with this we come to an end of demand, law of demand and demand, what is demand schedule, individual demand schedule and market demand schedule. Demand curve, we will be doing it later in the next class.